Mr. Streeter is a gifted public speaker, certified teacher, a skilled sales professional for Fortune 500 companies. He's here today to inspire and enlighten each one of our students regarding the severe consequences of drinking and driving. Please offer a warm and welcome to Mr. Bill Streeter.
Thank you so much for having me back. I was here 2 years ago and spoke to the juniors and seniors at your school. And I sincerely have such a good feeling about the school. You can feel the energy as soon as you come in. And you should all be very, very happy and proud that you're able to go to a school of this caliber. What I have for you today is not a big dog and pony show. It's basically a true story of what took place in my life. And I believe that its significance is such that it will leave a profound effect on everybody in the room, and maybe have different effects on different people. Okay, we all come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different life experiences, so you all are going to filter it your own way, but I think that everyone in the room can leave today maybe feeling a little bit different than you did when you came in. I live in Florham Park. We've lived in Florham Park, which is not very far from here, about half hour from here, for over 30 years. So this is a story that you should be able to relate to very easily. It's very much like a story that probably goes on in your homes very often. And I'm going to take you back to 15 years ago, this month. In fact, it was last week, 15 years ago. And my son and daughter were both home. My son was attending Seton Hall Law School. He had gone away to go to do his undergraduate work in Rhode Island, and then he came back and he was living at home again, going to Seton Hall. And my daughter was attending Kutztown University, so she typically would have been away at school at this time, but she came home. She was studying to be a special ed teacher and practice teaching was in Madison High School, which is our neighboring town. So it was a Friday night, just like tonight, Friday just like this, and Ashley, my daughter, came home unexpectedly. We didn't know she was going to do this practice teaching assignment. So she came home, and my wife and I already had made arrangements to go out to dinner, so we continued those arrangements. Ashley made arrangements to go out with her friends to eat dinner, and my son, Billy, had planned to go into Manhattan. He was celebrating his friend's birthday. And he and a bunch of other friends were headed into the city to do that. So Billy and Ashley took off. Debbie and I, my wife and I, went out to dinner. We came home. Everything was fairly normal. I was watching TV, fell asleep, as I often do, watching TV. And got up about 2:30 in the morning, walked upstairs, went to bed. Everything seemed fairly normal. The next thing I remember was the doorbell ringing. It was about 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and which is pretty unusual. Normally you don't have a lot of visitors unexpectedly showing up at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. I came downstairs to see who was at the front door. And like our front doors are glass, but they distort the image a little bit. Okay, I could see the outline of 3 police officers standing at the front door. I could see the hats, the blue uniforms. I could see the color, and I'm thinking this is really strange. I mean, we lived in this town for a long time. I've never had anything like this go on. So immediately I thought something bad happened. I opened the door, And I saw the expression on the three officers' faces, very somber expressions. I knew all of the three officers because, we had lived in town so long. And I immediately just looked at him and I said, "Is he okay?" Thinking my daughter Ashley was up in bed sleeping. My son would have been the only one out on the road or out doing anything that night. And they didn't answer me. They just said, "We need to speak to you and your wife." So my wife Debbie overheard this. By that time, she came running down the steps. And she was standing next to me, and I repeated it. I said, "Is he okay?" And they looked at me, and they looked at us, and they said, "No, they're both not okay. They were both fatally injured in a car accident last night." So, as a parent, this is the worst possible news that you can ever imagine. You would rather have anything happen to you than lose. Now, these are our only two children. Many people would think that, my first reaction would be to just, collapse on the floor or scream or go nuts but it wouldn't register. The concept would not register with me. I didn't believe it. I looked at him and I said, "That's insane." I said, "They weren't even together last night. It's a mistake. There's no way they were both killed last night." The police officers assured us. They said, "Look, we've double-checked, triple-checked. It's not a mistake. They're gone." I still didn't believe them. My wife ran up the steps, threw open Ashley's door. I was right behind her. I looked, bed is unmade, she's not in bed, and then it hit us. They were right. So in an instant, their lives ended, our lives changed forever, and I'm here today to tell you that story. What happened, how it happened, and maybe by relating that story to everyone here, it may make a difference. So I'll bring you back to that day again. And as I said, Billy was in the city. He was going in for a birthday party. The plan was he was supposed to sleep in Hoboken. They were going to finish up in the city, go back to a friend's apartment in Hoboken, and sleep for the night. Something happened. They couldn't get into the apartment. And he called my daughter Ashley at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Ashley, would you come get us and bring us home?" Being a good sister, Ashley got out of bed 2 o'clock in the morning, drove down and met Billy and another friend of his who was coming back out of the city, picked him up at a train stop, and they were headed back home on the Parkway at about 4 o'clock. That night, it was torrential rain. The rain, you could not see your hand in front of your face. And most of the traffic was doing about 40 miles an hour coming up in the Parkway. And we don't really know exactly what happened, but for some reason Ashley lost control of the car. Billy was in the passenger seat. His friend Craig was in the back. She lost control of the car. She was on an exit 135.8, mile marker 135.8. And if you know that, it's in the Roselle area. There's a bridge with a cement divider right there in the center. The front nose of the car hit the divider. It spun. The car came to rest on the back quarter panel of the car in a fast lane. And from what we can tell, everybody was okay. Because she was doing, they believe, about 40 miles an hour with the rest of the traffic. Unfortunately, There was another car coming up behind them that was doing 80 miles an hour. It was being driven by a drunk driver who didn't see our car in time, T-boned their car, and killed my son and daughter, and severely injured Billy's friend in the back seat. The jaws of life were necessary to come in to extract the boy that was in the back seat. He was taken to the hospital, put into the brain trauma unit, had constructive jaw surgery done on his face. Thank God he lived, he's okay. We see him all the time. He's okay, he made it. Psychologically, I don't believe he'll ever be the same. He used to be a happy-go-lucky, nothing bothered this kid. He's a little different now, but he's fine. So, I guess that story is a story that has a lot of different levels of meaning. That story is a story that just impacted so many lives. It killed my son and daughter. It changed my wife and my life immensely. All of their friends were impacted by this. 15 years later, still talking about this accident. So, why am I standing here talking to you about this? What am I trying to get across? One of the main things I want to get across is decision making. The decisions that you make every day will have a consequence. If you make decisions that are going to make you stronger, smarter, more powerful, increase the value or the beauty of your life, your life is going to head in one direction. If you make decisions that are going to take you down another road, that disempower you, that make you weaker, that hurt you day after day, you're going to head in another direction. The driver of the other car, the T-boned our car, I'm sure did not wake up that day and say, gee, I think you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to go out, get drunk, drive 80 miles an hour like a lunatic on the parkway when I can't see in the rain, and kill a couple of people. That's the last thing going through his mind. As the police picked him up, the first words he said to the police were, "My life is over." He knew it. He knew his life would be changed from that day forward. He was convicted of 2 counts of vehicular homicide. He spent 10 years of his life in prison after that. His parents turned their back on him. His wife left him, along with the 2 children that he had. He was only 25 years old. He had a lot of living ahead of him, but it changed in that instant. That was not his intention, to go out and have all of that happen. But he's responsible for his actions. He made a decision to drink. He made a decision to drive recklessly. And that's what happened. I do not read anything during my presentation to you except for portions of this letter. This is a 7-page handwritten letter from the driver of the other car while he was in prison. My daughter's friends wrote to him in prison, and they said, you know, we want you to know who you killed. We want you to know exactly the reason that this is just not another statistic, This is the type of human being that you took out. This is his answer from prison. And I'm not going to read 7 pages. This is just a few excerpts. He wrote, "When I received this letter, I had an idea of who it was. When I started reading it, my heart dropped. With all that said, your letter opened up old wounds that I've been trying to heal up from. This has been a nightmare that I try to forget, even though I'm living it every day. But how can I ever forget? How can I forget that I've lost everything but my life? Sometimes I'm not sure that that's a good thing. The night it happened, I was laying in the hospital bed crying, saying that I wish it was me. I wish that I was the one that died that night. And I know you probably did too. That night, I was celebrating with friends. I was on my way into the Army, and I had to go to Army Recruiter the next day to get sworn in. So it was a night of celebration for me. I was celebrating a change in my life. I wanted to leave the streets of Newark and make a better life for me and for my 20-month-old daughter. My wife became a single mother, raising 2 kids on her own. Oh, I forgot to mention that after 2 weeks of being incarcerated, I found out that we were expecting a second child. Now I'm currently going through a divorce. I haven't seen my kids in almost 2 years. I've been depressed, lonely, and at times on the verge of going crazy. I can understand your hate for me. Where I come from, a death of a friend happens a lot, and it's never settled with a letter to the defendant of the crime. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm asking you to forgive me. I should not have been drinking and driving that night under any circumstances. It was raining and foggy. I was just trying to get home. I can go through that morning over and over again, and I've played that night in my head for the last 5 years, over and over, thinking of what if I had done this or done that. How do you think it feels to be part of an innocent life being taken? Do you think it's easy waking up every morning knowing that 2 people who have promised to be something in their life are gone because of my irresponsibility? You say you're mad at me? Well, I hate myself more than you ever can. I am mad at myself. You say one day I'll see family and friends again? Well, to me, I don't have any family, and those who I thought were my friends are long gone. You see, when you're in here, it's like being dead. When I leave, I'll be alive again, if I leave. Tomorrow isn't promised to anyone, especially in here. Here's a story of a heartfelt realization from someone that made a terrible mistake. But it's too late because he has to live that story every day. And those 10 years, he served 8.5 of the 10 years in prison, are going to be on his resume forever. He'll have to live with that. So another aspect I'd like to talk to you about today is about forgiveness. It would have been very easy for my wife and I, and for all of our children's friends, to just hate this person and not forgive him. But I'd like to tell you a story that took place at the sentencing hearing. There's a sentencing hearing where the defendant is present and the victims' families are present. And my wife and I made victim impact statements, telling the judge what we thought of his actions. And as they were waiting for the sentencing, they separate the two families. Our family was put in one room, his family was put in another room, and they intentionally separate because there's a lot of bad blood in many cases here. There's a knock at the door. We went to the door, and it was an officer of the court said that the father of the defendant wanted to speak to us. He wanted to ask for our forgiveness. My wife and I went out into the hallway, and in the hallway, the three of us hugged, and we forgave the father for his part. He didn't have a part of it, but he asked for our forgiveness. We forgave him, and we forgave the son. Did not realize standing right next to us was a Star Ledger photographer taking pictures of what we were doing there. This appeared in the paper and it received awards and all kinds of acclaim. All we wanted to do was to convey our forgiveness. And that's what I would say to you. I'm sure that every single person in this room has been hurt, has felt that somebody in their life has not treated them fairly. Could be a little thing, could be a big thing, could be anything. But I'm standing here to tell you that if you were able to forgive them, it helps you too. It helps you more than it helps anybody else. Because if we had held that grudge all these years, I'm sure it would have destroyed my wife and I. We let it go. It was not his intention to hurt our children. We understood that. We have to live with the consequences. That was not his intention. I'm not standing here today. I'm thinking what you're probably thinking, saying, well, what is this? I don't want you to feel sorry for me, okay? I'm standing here to try to inspire you, to tell you that one of the most horrible things on earth happened to us, and we're still upright. And everyone here has problems or issues, or no matter what your lot in life is, everybody has challenges. And what I say to you is, you are capable of overcoming any challenge, any issue, anything that's ever going to be presented in your life. I want you to remember that always. It may not be easy, but you have the strength to be able to overcome anything. It's not how many times you fall down on the mat, it's how many times you get up off the mat. And I'm here for you to look at me and say, if this guy can do this, I can do it too. There's nothing special about me. I'm just a regular guy. So if my wife and I can survive this, you can get through anything that ever is going to happen to you in your life too. You need to rely on a couple of things. You need to rely on your friends, on your family, and have faith in yourself. We never would have gotten through any of this kind of stuff if we didn't have those things to fall back on. And I want you all to remember, you have so many resources. Your parents love you. Your family loves you. Remember that. The staff in this school, this is an amazing, amazing school. I'm in and out of hundreds of high schools and colleges speaking. I can tell the energy and the good feeling in this school. Remember that. If you ever need help, you ever need a helping hand, reach out to the people here at your school. Rely on their resources. They love you. They want to help you. There's no guarantees in life. I'm not trying to scare you. I know you have a lot of cool things coming up. You have your prom coming up. You have your graduation coming up. There's all kinds of good plans for your future plans and whatever your next step of your life is going to be after high school, if you're a senior. I'm not here to bum you out about all of that. I want you to realize the importance of the decisions that you make. Your decisions are something that you're going to live with all the time. So please, please do things that are going to make your life better and enrich your life. One of the things that we talked about, that I just mentioned, was you rely on your family and your friends. We have so many good friends. We've lived in Florham Park for many, many years. And because of what happened to my son and daughter, we give out 6 scholarships a year. We give out scholarships to every school that they ever attended. 2 to Hanover Park, a boy and a girl. Billy went to University of Rhode Island. Ashley went to Kutztown. My wife worked at Immaculate Conception Seminary, so we give one to a seminarian down there, and Billy was in Seton Hall Law. We give one down there. I was at Seton Hall Law last night meeting the recipient of one of our scholarships. What a wonderful opportunity. The only way, we're not wealthy people, we don't have enough money to give away scholarships to 6 people every year for 15 years. Our friends have helped us. We live in Florham Park. There's a 5K in Florham Park every June. And they raise money and then give us a good portion of that we put towards scholarships. The race started out, before we got joined 8 years ago, the race started out, there were 80 or 90 runners. Now there's 1,600 runners. So it's a big success. If you're not doing anything next month, beginning of June, or let's say April, in June, beginning of June, come down and check it out. It's really a nice time. You don't have to run. You don't have to be an Olympic runner. You can walk it. You can just hang out and see it. It's pretty cool. But the reason I tell you about that is because that's our community that helped us. Our scholarships are given out based upon qualities that Billy and Ashley had. They both had the same type makeup, same personalities. Scholarships are given out for generosity, kindness, compassion, and leadership. You don't have to be a straight A student to get these, but you have to have those qualities. And we feel that by giving that out and moving that type ideal forward each time, 6 times a year, it helps remember the qualities that Billy and Ashley stood for. And you all can make a difference in your life. You think that what you do and how you treat other people during the day doesn't go unnoticed? It's amazing how many letters we get. This is 15 years later. We're still getting letters from students that Billy and Ashley went to high school with, telling us cool stories about how nice they were. You can do the same thing. You can make a difference. Everybody thinks, what can I do? Don't kid yourself. A smile, a helping hand, a supportive kind of gesture or word to somebody can make a total difference in their life. And you can be the one that generates that. We still get those type of things every day. When my daughter was in high school, she was a senior. She was assigned to take new kids around to the school. And Hanover Park is like a campus kind of set up, so there's a lot of buildings they have to go to and everything. And the student that she was assigned to was a new kid. She didn't really know anybody. And at lunchtime, my daughter was eating lunch with her friends. She happened to be a cheerleader, so all the cheerleaders were sitting together. And they had their cheerleader uniforms on because, that's what they were all leading kids around that day. And she looks over and she sees this kid sitting all by herself at a separate table. Now, you could very easily just say, it's not my problem. That kid can eat lunch okay by herself. She doesn't need any help. Ashley got up, went over, brought the kid over, and said, you want to eat lunch with us? Do you know the kid went home that day, told her mother that it was the best day she ever experienced in school. Now, Ashley we didn't even know about that. She didn't even tell us that. The principal told us that years later. But you all have opportunities every day to show love to your fellow students, to your brothers and sisters. There's no guarantees in this life. We don't know what's going to happen to any of us. So don't waste an opportunity to reach out, touch the people around you, the people that love you. Tell them how you feel about them. I'm running over a little bit. I'm going to wrap it up real close, but I want to tell you one other thing. In December, before the accident in April, so a couple of months before the accident, I signed up for a retreat at our church. I never do this. Never, ever, ever do anything like that. I don't know why I did it. I did it. So, as part of the retreat, they had people write letters to the people that were involved in a retreat, telling them what they meant in their life. So, my son and daughter each wrote me a letter. They just told me things that I never knew how they felt about me. I have the letters here. I can't read them because I'll start crying if I read the letters to you. And I don't want to do that. But what I'm saying to you, how cool that was that they had an opportunity to give me those letters in December because they died in April. If they said, I don't want to do that, I don't want to be bothered writing that letter, that's a pain in the neck. Dad knows how I feel about him. I never would have gotten him. If the house burned down today, after getting the 2 dogs and my wife out, those letters would be the next 2 things that came out of the house. Okay? So, take nothing for granted. Know that everything you do counts. And remember that each and every day. Remember that whatever obstacles you have, you can succeed. Just don't ever give up. You got to keep trying, and if you never quit, you're going to be successful. That's all my messages for you today. I have 3 videos, that I'd like to show you. And these are so cool because these videos were made by Ashley and Billy's friends. So these aren't professional things that we had made up. These are things done by their friends, so it means so much to us. I hope that the information I brought you today made a difference in your life, and I thank you very much for your attention and your kindness for having me here. Thanks again.
You are a part of me, and the memory cuts like a knife. Didn't we find the ecstasy? Didn't we share the daylight? When you walked into my life, now and forever I'll remember all the promises about all the words between us that never needed to be spoken. We had a moment, just one moment, that will last beyond a dream, beyond a lifetime. We are the lucky ones. Some people never get to all we got to do. Now and forever, I will always think of you. Didn't we come together? Didn't we live together? Didn't we cry together? Didn't we play together? Together, and together we lit up the world. I miss the tears I miss the laughter. I miss the day we met and all that followed after. Sometimes I wish I could always be with you, the way we used to do. Oh, now and forever, I will always think of you. Oh, now and forever, I will always be with you.
This is for my best friend Ashley, who I grew up with since I was in preschool. And at the innocent age of 7, she decided what we would be together when we grew up. Ashley made the choice for us both to become teachers. Of course, our lifelong dream was decided together because she was my back and I was her bone. We made every crucial decision together. Sometimes she made the calls and sometimes I did. Years later, we stuck to our pact and decided to attend the same college. It was my turn to make a choice for the both of us. I decided on special education for our major, and from that point on, it had become both of our dreams. We followed the goal and took every class together throughout college. It was known at our university that we were the only 2 people in history to see our advisor together. On April 5th, 2003, I lost my heart, my soul, and my everything. Ashley and her brother Billy were hit by a drunk driver, and their lives were tragically taken. Every dream of Ashley's was robbed from her that April morning. My ambition to continue school faded, along with my will to pursue my dream. I had missed 3 weeks of school after the accident and had stayed in bed for the majority of that time. But with the support and family of friends, I woke up one day and said, if she cannot breathe, I will breathe for her. I have a double reason for living now. Instantly the drive kicked in, and the next day I didn't crawl out of bed, but I stood. I drove to Kutztown University and walked into every classroom to face the empty seat beside me. Everyone stared, but I didn't care. I just let the tears roll. I was given an extension on the semester, but refused to take it. I told my professors that I wanted to finish everything and complete the same work that all of the other students had done. I worked and I worked hard. I stayed up nights and slept on the couch so I didn't have to face the empty bed across from me, and I did it all for Ashley. Once it came time for graduation, I knew that Ashley needed to be given her diploma. After all, she worked just as hard as I did, but she wasn't given the chance to finish. I wrote letter after letter to the president of Kutztown University, only to have my requests denied. The university claimed that Ashley's death happened too early to tell if she would have graduated, and they didn't want to set a precedent. I wrote my final letter stating that I would not receive my diploma if my best friend did not. It was then that I received a letter from the president of apology, and my entire family and friends were invited to be on stage with me at graduation. I was brought to the front of the graduation line, and my roommates and I were given roses with Ashley's name draped from them. I walked hand in hand with Ashley's parents to receive our diplomas together. There was a 5-minute standing ovation at our graduation. I fulfilled our dream that day and continue every day to try to make things better for my students, for myself, and for my Ashley.
I hope that you feel a little different than when you came in today. So once again, thank you so much for your attention. Thank everyone here at Kinnelon for having me back, and I wish all good things to everybody here. Thank you.